Welcome everyone. It's just gone 11 o'clock, so I will get started. And thank you for joining me here today. I'm just going to share my screen and hopefully we will have some fun insight into building relationships today. It's a very interesting topic. So hopefully you can see my screen. Hopefully you can see my screen. Maybe people can put a note in the chat, those that can see my screen. It should say building strong relationships. Hopefully those that are on the call can just let me know. Give me a yes if you can see my screen. Hopefully you can. Hopefully, I think we've got, if we can have hands up to see my screen. Yep, hopefully you can. So today's all about building stronger relationships. So stronger relationships are very, very important in life and also in business as well. So welcome along today. I'm actually thrilled that you joined me because if we can help people have stronger connections and better relationships, I'm really confident that you'll be able to achieve more in life. If you've got any questions, please feel free to put your hand up in the questions and answer box or the chat box, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions. We've got a lot to go through, and I think some people will find this very interesting and also very useful. So if you want to see my face as well as the slides, just go to the right hand side and change the view so you can get a split view of me and the slides if you prefer seeing somebody's face talking to you. If you don't, just have the slides. That's totally fine. So let's start. The first thing I'm going to start is looking at, okay, what are different relationships? So the term interpersonal relationships, it's basically referring to the bond that we create between two or more people. So to dive a little bit deeper, it's a close relationship between individuals that actually share a common interest and common goals. So we can break down interpersonal relationships also into different categories. So we've got family, we've got friendships, we've got professional, and we've got romantic. So different forms of relationship can develop in different categories. However, there's a number of musts for an interpersonal relationship to form, regardless of what category it's in. So in order to develop an interpersonal relationship, the following things must be met. So the first of all, individuals must share a common goal or an objective with similar interests. There must be something in common. The second one is individuals must respect each other's view and each other's opinion. It's really important to respect each other. Thirdly, there must be some form of attachment, something that you're both attached to. And the last one is trust and honesty plays a very pivotal role. So what I'm going to do now is look at some of these different categories and how they serve our needs. And then I'm going to look at some strategies that you can take away to develop these further that will help you in your all of these different kinds of relationships. So when we look first of all at the first kind of relationships, we've got family relationships. They're the first type of interpersonal relationship that we actually have. And then with this, this is a bond that forms from infancy. Family plays an important role in protecting our children, in meeting their physical needs, for survival, providing emotional support and education. There are many, many different roles within family category relationships. We've got your mothers, your fathers, your siblings, grandparents, etc. Biological kinships, and these are different relationships that are formed through the family. So with the family, they're the only category of interpersonal relationship which is involuntary. We don't choose our family. And sometimes, you know, we understand that. Sometimes we think, yes, yeah, well, maybe we wouldn't have chosen a family. But anyway, over the course of a lifetime, our role within a family, it does evolve. We begin completely dependent on our caregivers. However, as we age, our caregivers may become more dependent on children for survival. And in many cases, the children are increasingly providing emotional and physical support for their caretakers. So that's the first, category, or the first group of relationships that we're going to talk about here. Then the second one we want to look at here is just friendships. These normal friendships. Friendships can share equal or even greater level of intimacy than family friendships, because unlike family friendships, these are voluntary friendships. So there are many types of friendships that we experience throughout the life. For the purposes of this webinar, we're just going to focus on the most meaningful type, referred to here as a true friendship. So true friendships, they're defined as those who provide us emotional support, and true friendship will remain good during good times and bad times without exception. Pardon me. Now, this does not include a relationship without quarrels. It's quite fine to have disagreements and quarrels during relationships. Friendships are a two-way street, and at the core of every true friendship is trust. And friends are important to help challenge us, support us, and enable us to grow, and vice versa. So they're our true friendships, the people that we really want to spend as much time with as possible. Then the next ones we have are our professional relationships. The people that we work with, they can make all the difference in loving or hating our job. Relationships develop with many colleagues. They're very, very important relationships. We spend 40+ hours with our co-workers. Professional relationships, they do arise out of circumstances beyond working for the same organisation. You might have little interaction with certain people. There are various types of professional relationships. Many don't go beyond acquaintances, but a team member may be a co-worker that they work with every single day. They're a lot more than an acquaintance. They're often somebody that you'll call a friend. And, it really makes the job so much more meaningful if you've got people that you work with that you really do have a friendship with as well, and that you do trust, because you enjoy going to work. So a work friend is someone that you have a personal connection with, and someone you might have lunch with, you might sit with them in meetings, you might attend events outside of work with them. Work friends also, they sometimes have a bit of a social aspect to them as well. They keep us sane during the long hours of work. And they also serve as a bit of a support network, because they're sharing this common environment of the work environment. So we've all experienced, amazing relationships. Most people have experienced amazing relationships through our work colleagues. Then the next one is romantic relationships. Now, these are often the most emotionally and physically intimate among the different relationship categories. Romantic relationships are formed through that deep attachment, that passion, the trust, and the respect. There's usually a mutually strong attraction between both personality and personal and physical attributes. Relationship friendships, they're the closest form of the voluntary relationships. This will lead to that secure connection or a bond between two people not shared by anybody else. Romantic relationships meet our need for companionship. They meet our need for belonging, for affection, for emotional support, and for validation. Romantic relationships can be short-lived or develop into lifelong alliances. So either way, but they're a really big part of meeting our emotional needs as a human being. So research has shown that individuals with supportive and rewarding relationships have better mental health, they have higher levels of subjective well-being, and they have lower rates of morbidity and mortality. So it's very interesting here to look at this as a bit of a self-development analysis, or self-development or PD, on how we can actually help our physical and mental well-being. So relationships are important for supporting individuals in their ability to cope with stress and also adversity. Additionally, a strong relationship helps a person to learn, to grow, to explore and achieve goals, to cultivate new talents, and find purpose and meaning in life. So the 5 components of well-being, they have been identified and linked with meaningful relationships. These components include happiness and life satisfaction. 2, having purpose. 3, having positive self-regard. 4, positive interpersonal expectancies. And the 5th one is healthy weight and activity levels. Very interesting. So absolutely fascinating how important these relationships are to our whole physical and mental well-being. So interestingly, meaningful relationships are inherently connected to our mental and physical health and well-being. Researchers have found it's important to have a variety of relationships. We're most likely to thrive with well-functioning close relationships that serve different support functions within the categories that I've just discussed. The intimate relationships, the family relationships, the close friends, and the work relationships. So what they're saying is that we're wanting to be happier and healthier and more physically and mentally adjusted or connected, then it's important to have this variety of different relationships in our life. So when we're looking at relationships, they act to serve various functions between these different individuals. So 2 of them, and the first important function of a relationship is to support thriving through adversity, not only by buffering individuals from negative effects of stress, but also by enabling them to flourish either because of or in spite of their circumstances. Now, thriving through adversity, it teaches us to appreciate what we have. I'm sure all of us have had a very close friend that's been ill or have been ill ourselves or had an accident. And it's the friends that have supported us and that have helped us be strong to get through that challenge. Adversity, it's a good reminder that there are some discomforts in life and they're only temporary. They act to teach us. It's our reaction to the situations that really count rather than the situation itself. Relationships can help us develop this important skill. So the second important function of relationships is to support thriving through the absence of adversity by promoting full participation in life opportunities of exploration, growth, personal achievement. So this is when things are going smoothly, that your friends are cheering you on, your friends are backing you, your friends are, supporting your dreams and pushing your boundaries. So personal growth in relationships is very important. It allows us to transform, to continually work towards becoming the very, very best version of ourselves. So during life, we do experience many phases, and no 2 phases ever look alike in any 2 people's lives. Relationships help facilitate the growth by supporting one's journey and sometimes teaching us that these learnings along the way are part of who we are and part of our relationship as we develop together. So the relationships act these 2 functions of supporting us through adversity and also encouraging us to step up when there is an absence of adversity. And it makes for a much deeper relationship when we have that. And, often people have said to me, my husband and I have been married for over 35 years, and people say, how have you guys managed to be so strong and to have stuck together for so long? Well, I'm sure it's because of the adversity, with my husband having his accident and me having my health issues. I'm sure it's the adversity that has kept us stronger and has got that bond together cemented that we know will stick with each other through thick and thin, and that we've developed our relationship and our resilience through that with ourselves personally and with the trust that we built, that we know each other is there for each other. So our extent of our relationships has changed dramatically over the years as well. Now, technology, what it's done, it's provided us with limitless boundaries for which we can now develop relationships with nearly anyone in the world. So technology's opened up doors for many new relationships, but it's also stunted the growth of some relationships. So we have 24-hour unlimited communication. but are we communicating more or less? So we're talking shorthand without expressing genuine emotion, often through text. We may communicate to someone that we're laughing out loud, but are we missing the experience of actually laughing out loud together with them? So as a result, there are some skills that we've actually lost in the process, and this process is failing. So it's natural for relationships to change and evolve, but it's essential to make true connections along the way. So what I'm wanting to do is let's look at the ways we can build these relationships and not just have this distance between us all the time. So if we're looking at relationship building tools, some of the tools that are at your disposal for developing and maintaining healthy relationships are really very, very useful tools. Now, whether it's a business relationship or the personal relationship or an intimate relationship or family relationship, these tools are really helpful with all of them. So I'm going to give you top 10 tips here of how to build these relationships stronger and how to build them deeper. So if you've got a pen, I would urge you to write them down. So the first one is think positive, always positive thinking. The second one, and I'm going to go into these a bit more deeply in a minute, show that you actually care. You know, that old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's such a true comment. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So important. The third one, be considerate. Consider others' feelings. Number 4, be an active listener. So making sure that you're actually properly actively listening. Number 5, have self-awareness. You know, how do you present to other people? Number 6, settle disputes. Settle them quickly. Number 7, be a great communicator. Number 8, be the kind of friend that you want to have. Number 9, put yourself in the other person's shoes. And number 10, don't keep score. Not a good idea. So hopefully you've written these down. People who are on the webinar have noted them and maybe have them in your back of your diary, or if you're finding there's a challenge in a relationship, go back to your diary and have a quick look at this list and see, am I doing the best with this, or is there anything I could do a little bit better? And then that might help. So I'll go into these in a little bit more detail. So the first one is positive thinking. Now, it's not realistic to expect to be happy all the time, but building strong relationship requires positivity for that relationship to thrive. So it's very easy to pull others down when you're having a bad day. But too many days like this, and it will cause the people to go searching for other people, to be looking for people who are more cheerful. This goes for any of these types of relationships that you're trying to cultivate or strengthen. Having a positive disposition, it's really welcoming to people. It's really inviting. It's like a magnet. Others are attracted to that positive force. So if you need a boost of positivity and you have challenges with that, and I've met people before that, you know, when I say, how are you? How are you going? Not bad. You know, gosh, that really doesn't sound very much fun. Or then, oh, I'm okay. You know, you don't want to be one of those sorts of people. So here are some tips for keeping positive, for having that positive energy so that people want to be with you. First one, look for the optimistic viewpoint, even in a negative situation. Try and find the positive. You know, when I was a child, Mum used to call it the Pollyanna game. You're looking for the best in every situation. There's always a lesson to be learned or a silver lining out of any situation. When you spend time, with people that you love, and you evaluate these people, you know, looking at thinking, are these people draining my energy, or are they filling my energy up? Do I feel energized when I'm with them, or do I feel drained? So you know, a great way to analyze yourself is, you know, how do people feel when they leave me? Are they feeling like I've energized them, or did I bring the mood down? So having that awareness is really important. So if you find yourself feeling down or negative or drained by people in a relationship, it might be time to just step back. Keep things in perspective. So when you're feeling strained, it's easy to make a mountain out of a molehill. So remain calm and objective, because you'll get a much better outcome if you're calm and objective. So keep in mind as well, what you put in to a relationship, you'll normally always get back. So that law of reciprocity, the giver's gain law, it's so, so true. So I'm always on the lookout for how can I help somebody? How can I make a difference? And I'm not doing it because I want someone to help me. I'm doing it because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel positive and energized. And I know what goes around comes around. The law of reciprocity it never fails, ever, never, ever. So keep in mind what you're putting out. If your energy is negative and frustrated, then what happens, that may be reflected in your interactions with others. They might reflect that back. When you're experiencing negative emotions, instead of taking them out on others, refocus on your attention. Try lending a helping hand, looking at other people's point of view, smile through tough situations, remain positive. You know, I have one person, every time I see this person, how are you? Oh, I'm tired. I'm tired. I mean, how does that make me feel? It's like, well, really, you know, there's no point in saying that. You know, if you're saying, oh, I'm tired, you're going to feel even more tired. So it's about looking at having that positive attitude with the people that you're around, looking for the positive in the situations, so that then people are wanting to be with you and you're not pulling down the whole conversation. You're a lot more attractive to people, and people want to be your friend when you're positive opposed to negative. Second one we said was show that you actually care. And it's very easy to take relationships for granted. If it's a close friend or a co-worker or your husband or your boyfriend or girlfriend or your mom or your dad or somebody, showing you care is a surefire way to strengthen that relationship. I mean, this morning I dropped into my daughter's to walk her son to school, and my husband made a candle for our daughter last night. Now, that's just a small thing, but it shows that he actually cares. And it's a nice thought to have someone make you a gift. It shows you care. I remember she'd had a bad day recently, and a friend dropped off some flowers and said, I hope you're feeling better. So just these small gestures makes the world of difference. Everyone likes to feel appreciated. So please don't be stingy with giving thanks, no matter how small that is. If someone does something that you appreciate, let them know. You know, this will make both parties feel very valued. Identify at least one attribute you value in each of your relationships, and let the individuals know about it. You know, why not say this week, I'm going to tell all my key relationships what it is that I really value in their relationship. By showing others how much you care about them, that'll encourage them to do the same in return to you. So have a think about it. You know, how often do you, tell your close friends that you appreciate them, or your peers, or your family members, or your best friend, or your partner? When was the last time you said, I really appreciate you, and showed that to them in actions or in words or in deeds? It just makes such a difference to feel appreciated. It really gives you an absolute bounce in your step for that day. The next one is be considerate. So take note of what's happening in the lives of those that matter to you. You can strengthen any relationship by joining in on their happiness of a special occasion, or offering genuine compassion when they're facing a personal tragedy. So I found an article, Huffington Post article, and they noted the 7 habits of considerate people. Now, considerate people, these are the 7 habits of people who are considerate. First of all, they smile often. Choosing to smile. I love going for a walk around the lake and seeing how many people I can get a smile out of. And I love seeing their face light when I smile at them and they smile back. It just makes such a difference. Especially through tough times. It makes a significant impact on how others perceive you, as well as boosting your mood and their mood. Just by smiling makes you feel better. And even on the phone, people can hear you're smiling on the phone. Next one, practice empathy. Having compassion for others drives and strengthens connectedness. So if you're practicing empathy, that means you're actually deepening the relationship because people see that you've got that empathy. The third one, try to be intuitive of other people's needs. This one, it can take some practice if it doesn't already come naturally, but consider how others are feeling and choose to act on that information. So be intuitive of how people are feeling. Also, manners. They sometimes can get lost, especially when we spend a lot of time with a particular person, maybe your husband, maybe your brother, your sister, your work colleague. However, it makes the need for manners no less important if you're actually spending a lot of time with them. So being polite is more than remembering, hold on, sorry, I just had a little pop up here. It's really important to have extra special manners with the people that are close to us, for the people that are really big parts of our lives. And so often I see people treat their partners or their best friend or their sibling without that politeness, without manners, because they're so familiar. But it's more important to treat them with good manners because they're the people that are closest to our heart and they're the ones that are going to stick by us in our tragedy. Really, really important. Understanding and acknowledging their feelings and being super polite to them. Doesn't matter if you've been married to them for 35 years like me. I still make sure every morning I say thank you for my husband making me a beautiful cup of coffee, or thank you for taking the rubbish out. And he's like, oh, you don't have to thank me. It's, it's just what we do. And I'm like, yeah, but I appreciate it. It's raining outside and you've taken the bins out. Thanks heaps. I really appreciate it. It just makes such a difference. The other thing here is apologizing when you're wrong. If you're wrong, everyone makes mistakes. And by releasing the tension and saying, hey, I'm really sorry I was wrong in that situation, I found out a bit more about it, and it's been an interesting learning. And, that was not what I thought, but I understand I'm wrong. So having the courage to say you're wrong can sometimes be a really interesting personal development activity when some people find it really hard to say they're wrong. So that's Huffington Post's 7 habits of considerate people. Smile, practice empathy, be intuitive of other people's needs, make sure you use manners, especially with the people closest to us, because that's often where we forget them, and please apologise when you're wrong. And that was the interesting recommendation, I thought. The next one here, the next tip in the toolkit of building stronger relationships is be an active listener. Now, we were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We should always be listening twice as much as we're speaking. So active listening, it really has become a lost art. People are so being busy trying to get their point of view across. So active listening involves both hearing and recognising the other people's perspective. Too often, and we're too quick to get our point across. So we don't take time to understand what someone else is saying. So how well do you listen to other people? And how well do you concentrate on what somebody else is saying? One of the tips is to try and mentally repeat what the other person has actually said to reinforce their message. That can often help. And stop the noise in your head of wanting to have your comment or your one-upmanship. Oh, yes, well, I've had a worse accident than that. Or, when someone's telling you about a car accident or a bike accident that they've just had, and, they're halfway through saying it and you butting in saying, oh, well, I had, a worse one. I got T-boned here or whatever. But hold on, this person's wanting to share what's happened to them. And we need to actively listen to what they're saying and make them feel heard. So some active listening tips are to pay attention, giving the speaker your full undivided attention. Show them that you're listening through acknowledgement, through body language, eye contact, and also reflecting on what you're hearing back. So sometimes paraphrasing can help. So repeating back what they've said or asking clarifying questions. So saying, back to them, oh, so, you went here and this happened and this happened. Wow. And, who was with you, or so we're asking for other information to actually draw a bigger picture and to have them understand that you are actually listening. Respond also with understanding and respect. So responding with the respect that they actually deserve. The last one here, really important, avoid interrupting. Now, I know a few people that interrupt, and it's horrible. No one likes interrupting, and it can be frustrating for the person speaking, and it can be a bit uncomfortable. So if you hear yourself interrupting, this is an active listening tip that I would like you to stop and think, okay, this is obviously something I do. I'm going to stop doing it from now on. So active listening tips, I'll just repeat them in case you're writing them down again. Pay attention, giving the speaker your undivided attention. And, you know, things like mobile phones. If you're in a conversation with someone that's important to you, turn it on silent and just put it down for an hour if they're having a proper conversation. Show that you're listening through acknowledgement in body language, so that use your body language to pay to them. Reflect on what you're hearing by paraphrasing, no interrupting, and also respond with respect and understanding, because that's what they're sharing with you. It's theirs, not yours. You're just the listener, an active listener. So the next toolbox tip is self-awareness. Now, research shows that when we see ourselves clearly, we can build stronger relationships and communicate more effectively. So self-awareness involves having a clear perception of your strengths, your weaknesses, your thoughts, your beliefs, your motivation, and your emotions. So cultivating this strong sense of self-awareness, what it actually does is it allows you to understand others as well as how they perceive you. So there are some techniques that you can utilize to develop and deepen your own self-awareness. So one of the things is look at yourself objectively by identifying and writing out your current perceptions. So, you know, jotting down your accomplishments, things that made you who you are, you know, what was happy during your childhood, things that you could improve on. A journal is a really great way to develop self-awareness, and journaling is a very, it's a very useful way to reflect on feelings and reflect on your development. Writing out values, things that are important to you, and it's beneficial to periodically reflect back on them because our values change over time, and add notes if anything's changed or why it's changed. Meditation and mindfulness, they can also help you identify the thoughts that are also running on autopilot through the background as well. For myself personally, I've been meditating every day for over 30 years. I find it hugely beneficial in just keeping that groundedness and keeping that calmness, so that I'm focused on the moment, on this moment now, where I am right now. And meditation every day helps me just to quieten the mind and focus on what's important right now. You can also ask trusted friends to describe you and provide them with a safe place to provide honest feedback. You know, I had a beautiful lady text me the other day and said, oh, can you pick one word to describe me? I'm doing some journaling. And I was like, yep, easy, amazing, because you are amazing. And that was the first thing I thought of, because she's amazing. Any obstacle, she just smashes through it. So asking for feedback with co-workers is very valuable as well. And I often do a workshop session. Some of you on the webinar may have done it before, where we ask for feedback in a work group where we're working on something together, and just saying, look, what is, you know, let's do feedback on say myself, and I would like everyone to say one thing that, you know, I really bring to the team that's amazing, and one thing that I could actually improve on or stop doing that would make me more amazing. So by giving that feedback, it's seen as a gift, and there's rules around not wanting to be personal. It's only to do with developing skills, and recommendation when giving feedback, only give one thing. Just one thing to improve on, or to stop doing. And people like feedback. People like being told, okay, this is the area that I think that I would really like you to develop. This is the area I'd like you to improve on. So next tip for your toolbox, settle disputes. Conflict is normal with any part of a relationship, but knowing how to respectfully settle the dispute, it can help build much stronger relationships. So some of the tips for managing and resolving conflict here in a healthy way are: address the situation as it occurs. Please don't avoid the conflict. Face it head on. If you can't let something go, it should be addressed quickly before it develops into a much bigger issue. Also, remember that the relationship is more important than winning an argument, much more important. And be respectful, of other people's points of view. Let go of past hurts and resentments and focus on the present dispute. Just don't bring something up from the past. Don't dig something up and bring it up from the past. Also, pick your battles, because conflict can be draining. So it's important to consider whether the issue is worthy of your energy and also your time. The last one here is be willing to forgive and know when to let something go. Personally, with close relationship, like a husband or a wife, one of my rules has always been, always resolve a conflict before you go to bed. Make sure whatever conflict's going on, or dispute or disagreement, it's resolved before you go to bed. Because you're not going to sleep well if you've just had a dispute or a conflict. And you don't need to have the same point of view. Healthy conversations, engaged, healthy conversations of different points of view are really important. Thinking about, what information would make me think differently about this, and, where have you had this knowledge from? So it's interesting to have relationships with people who don't think the same. And if you're having a dispute, just resolve it in a healthy way as quickly as you can, and accept that people have different points of view and everyone doesn't think the same. So, don't hold grudges or things that are a sticking point in the relationship that you're not prepared to discuss. It's best to just settle them, get rid of them, let them go and move on. Sorry, my voice is going croaky here. Now, be a great communicator is the next tip. Communication is key to connecting with others. So it's a common myth that just because you talk with someone means that you're communicating with them. So communication's a lot more than talking. It's about connecting by using verbal, by using written, and by using physical skills to fulfill the needs of any given relationship. So there's lots of techniques we've already discussed that go hand in hand with improving relationships and improving communication. But if we're focusing just on communication, how can we improve communication? Some of the things that I've listed here are stop and listen, active listening, which we've talked about briefly before. Forget all the thoughts that are going on in your head. Active listening is what the other person is saying, repeating what they've said so that you understand, you're clear that you understand it better. Be open and honest. Hiding or holding back emotions tends to lead to bigger issues. So if you're feeling hurt, say you're feeling hurt. It's your emotions that you own. So if you don't communicate what you're feeling to the other person, they might never know. And you might be holding that around and it might be hurting you inside. So being open also means opening yourself up to the possibilities of being hurt or disappointed. So it's important to just be true to yourself. So the other thing is pay attention to non-verbal signals. So communication, it's not necessarily about being said, but how someone is saying something. So being very mindful of how people are communicating to you. Try to focus on current issues and avoid taking things from the past. Communication's really, it's all about active listening and responding in a meaningful way. So thinking about how you communicate, could you particularly, pay more attention to non-verbal, or could you maybe be a bit more active listening? How could you be a better communicator? So also the next tip that we have here is be the kind of friend you want to have. So it's important to give back to others what you expect from them. So building healthy relationships, think about the qualities that you expect from others. Do you exhibit and offer the same qualities? So if you expect colleagues or friends to be respectful of your opinions, even when they're different, do you respond to them with that same level of respect? Maybe you expect a close friend to be a shoulder to cry on when things are difficult. Are you the same back to them? Are you a shoulder to cry on when it's a difficult time for them? So no matter what the relationships are, it's important to examine your expectations and make sure they're realistic by living up to the same expectations that you have for them. So you know, looking at it from the other point of view and saying, okay, you know, am I the kind of friend that I would want? You know, am I a good, reliable friend? Are they the qualities that I would like to see? And then second last point here, second last tool is put yourself in the other people's shoes. Empathy can be a very tough one. So having empathy for someone is one thing. However, it's another to actually put it into action. So when we're building strong relationships, it's important to have empathy. So some of the things around empathy are actively choose to view the world beyond your own self. Look at how the world is appearing to other people. Once again, this is made possible through communication, through active listening, through being understanding. Also acknowledge that there may be something going on other than what you're actually seeing. So how many times have you walked into a situation still reeling from another situation? So remembering if someone else has had a bad day, that might have started hours before and they're not willing to talk about it. So showing compassion when someone is acting out of character. So we have no idea of what has just gone on for them. And it's important to be aware and be empathetic for that. Also, by accepting and realizing that we do all make mistakes. Everyone's human. So we all have obstacles to overcome. So there's a famous quote here that I liked: be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. I like that. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. So often people get upset by the customer service that they might be given, and there's no excuse for bad customer service, but you know, how do we know what's happened to them that morning? How do we know they've just not been told some terrible news and they're trying to do their best? And having that awareness, that empathy, is really important for building stronger relationships. Now, my last tip here for your toolbox with developing better relationships, don't keep score. Relationships are not about tit for tat. They're not about keeping score. It's common to tally up all the ways that you've given in a relationship and the other person doesn't. And some people say, oh, you know, I'm always the one doing the inviting. I'm always the one doing this, or I'm always the one going to their house. Please don't keep score. It really is not a good trait. You know, noticing what you're doing more versus holding on to it is the difference between moving on and resentment. So keeping score is me-centered. It's very me-centered, meaning you evaluate your role in the relationship to the place of superiority. Now, a relationship is two equal people, whether it's a husband and wife, a best friend, whether it's a work colleague, you're equal. So thinking in terms of not enough is a one-way ticket to actually, you know, having the glass half full. So please don't keep score. Instead of keeping score, you know, look at how much joy you can give. You know, give for the joy of giving. Don't give for the joy of keeping score. Oh, I gave them a birthday present, they didn't give me one last time. You know, just give because you want to give. Give cuddles, give love, give time, give attention because you want to give, not because you're keeping score. Give because there is no strings attached. because it's unconditional giving. Now, remember, true giving asks for nothing in return. So it's important not to be the sort of person that keeps score. So in conclusion, we've had a lot that have gone through. Really, in summary, what we've talked about is interpersonal relationships. They're made up of connections between different people, whether they're family, friends, work colleagues, or romantic relationships. So meaningful relationships are really key in our mental and our physical health. Without them, we don't fare well. So if we're wanting to be mentally and physically healthy and strong and happy, having these deep relationships, these interpersonal relationships, as healthy as possible, will reflect back on our healthier life and make our whole being much better and much healthier. The tools that I've gone through that you have now got at your disposal, if you're wanting to improve your relationships, and hopefully you listed them at the beginning, but if you didn't, these are the tools that I've researched will make your relationship stronger and better, and as in return for that, you'll be mentally and physically happier and healthier. One is have a positive attitude. Be a positive force with all relationships you have and all conversations. Be positive. 2, show that you care. 3, be considerate of other people. It's not all about you. Number 4, be an active listener. So 2 ears and 1 mouth. So listen twice as much as you talk, and stop always thinking what you've got to say next. Just listen and absorb and reflect back. Exhibit self-awareness. So be aware of how other people see you. Are you coming, across as down? Are you coming across as someone self-centered? Be self-aware of how people are seeing you. Settle disputes quickly and move on. Just settle them. It's okay to disagree about a topic, but move on from it. Don't let it fester and wreck a relationship. Be a great communicator, and that's communicating verbally, physically, written. Make sure that you're a good communicator, and true communication is the message that people receive, not what you say. 8, be the kind of friend that you want to have. So look at your behaviour and think, is that the kind of relationship that I would love to have? Would I like to have a relationship with me? Am I being a good friend? Number 9, put yourself in the other person's shoes so that you understand how they would feel. And the last one, number 10, give without expectations. Give because you want to give. Give because you care, because they're your friend or your colleague or your partner or your husband or your wife. Not expecting something to come back. That law of reciprocity is incredible, and it can transform relationships and lives. So if you keep these tips in your back pocket or start to develop them and see how you can actually work on improving them, I guarantee you that your relationships will flourish. And if your relationships flourish because you've spent the time and going through these tips, you will be happier and you will be healthier, and you will feel a lot more joy in your life with the people that you have around you. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope everyone on the call has actually, taken some good tips away. And I think for me, strong relationships are really important. I've still got friends from grade 1. I've got work colleagues from 20, 30 years ago, and it really makes life a lot more heart-centered when the people that you love are around through thick and thin, through different parts of your life as it goes up and down, through good times and bad, not just good times. We've probably all experienced fair weather friends, and they're not much fun. Friends stick by you regardless. So lastly, for those of you that would like to have a chat, I'm happy to have a chat. If you haven't read my book, I would urge you to read it. It took so much time for me to get it all out of my head, and those that have read it have really enjoyed it, and it's on Audible as well. I'll stop my slideshow, and as you'll see in the book, I've shared many relationships and how they've changed my life and how important they are. So thank you for joining me, and I hope that made sense, and I hope it helps with your personal lives and your business lives as well, and your business relationships. Thank you. And send me questions if you've got any questions, or flick me an email if you want to have a catch up. And thank you very much.